At its peak, it welcomed more than 1 million visitors a year. It pioneered the very idea of marine entertainment. The dolphin shows, the killer whale performances, the underwater viewing windows, all of it started here. Not at SeaWorld, not at any of the big modern parks. It started at Marineland of Florida. And then, almost overnight, it was gone. What happened to Marineland isn't just a story about a theme park closing. It's a story about how something that shaped an entire industry and an entire generation's relationship with the ocean got quietly erased. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how that happened and why it matters far more than most people realize. Before SeaWorld ever opened its gates, before the phrase marine park meant anything to most Americans, there was Marineland. It opened in 1938 on a stretch of Florida coastline between St. Augustine and Daytona Beach. Its full name was Marine Studios, because that's exactly what it was built to be, a studio for filming fish. The founders weren't conservationists or showmen, they were filmmakers. They wanted an underwater set where they could shoot ocean footage without the expense and danger of open water. They built massive oceanarium tanks, some of the first ever constructed, and filled them with sharks, rays, sea turtles, and bottlenose dolphins. But something unexpected happened. The public got wind of it. People started showing up just to watch, and when the dolphins began riding the bow waves of boats moving through the tanks, spontaneously on their own, the crowds went wild. By 1939, Marineland had become the world's first oceanarium open to the public. Not by design, almost by accident. Think of it like this. They built a film set and accidentally invented an entire industry. That's the thing about Marineland. It didn't follow a trend, it created one. And for decades, it was the benchmark everything else was measured against. Through the 1950s and 60s, Marineland was genuinely one of the most visited attractions in the entire United States. It drew more tourists annually than most national parks. Celebrities came, scientists came, Jacques Cousteau was a visitor. NASA brought astronauts there as part of their underwater training programs. It was during this era that Marineland made some of the most significant contributions to marine science that most people have never heard of. Researchers stationed there conducted the first systematic studies of dolphin behavior and communication. They were among the first to document that dolphins sleep with one eye open, a phenomenon called unihemispheric sleep. They helped establish the baseline understanding of dolphin cognition that still informs research today. The park also pioneered the dolphin show format that every marine attraction after it would copy. The trained leaps, the fetch games, the interaction with trainers, Marineland developed all of it. When SeaWorld opened in San Diego in 1964, its founders openly acknowledged they were modeling it on what Marineland had already built. In many ways, Marineland was the Apollo program of marine entertainment. A pioneering achievement that everyone benefited from, but that the world quickly forgot once something shinier took its place. The cracks didn't appear all at once. They crept in slowly through the 1970s and 80s as competition reshaped the entire industry. SeaWorld had expanded to multiple locations. Busch Gardens was pulling crowds. Walt Disney World had opened in 1971, just a few hours away, and it changed visitor expectations permanently. Suddenly, every attraction was being compared to Disney. Marineland couldn't keep up, not financially. The park sat on a relatively small plot of land. It couldn't expand the way its competitors could. It didn't have the corporate infrastructure to fund the kind of spectacle that was now expected. Attendance began to fall, slowly at first, then faster. New ownership came and went through the 80s and 90s. Each new operator had a different vision. Add a water park, rebrand, focus on educational programming, but nothing gained enough traction. The facilities aged. Maintenance became a visible issue. Visitors who had loved Marineland as children came back as adults and found something that felt tired, worn down, left behind. It's a pattern we see with pioneering institutions across many industries. The inventor rarely becomes the market leader. Marineland invented the category, then watched as better-funded imitators outgrew it. In 2011, SeaWorld Entertainment acquired Marineland. At the time, some took it as a sign of hope. Surely a major corporation with real resources could stabilize the park, restore it, bring it back to life. That's not what happened. SeaWorld paid approximately $1.4 million for Marineland, an almost absurdly small sum for a property with that history. For context, that's less than the cost of a single suburban home in many American cities. The deal included the land, the facilities, and the animals. Primarily, the animals. Shortly after the acquisition, the dolphins were transferred to SeaWorld's other facilities. The remaining marine life was redistributed. And Marineland itself, the tanks, the buildings, the observation decks where 1 million people a year had once stood, was simply closed. Not repurposed, not demolished in any meaningful way, just shuttered. The closure happened so quietly that many people in the region didn't even know about it until it was done. There was no final season celebration, no last hurrah. A park that had shaped an entire industry for 7 decades ended without ceremony. What makes this particularly striking is the contrast. SeaWorld's business model around that era was under growing public scrutiny. The 2013 documentary Blackfish would intensify that scrutiny significantly. Acquiring Marineland's animals while closing the park was a business decision, clearly. But it left behind something that felt, to many, like an erasure. The physical site of Marineland still exists. The Marineland Dolphin Adventure Facility opened on a portion of the original property, offering dolphin encounter experiences. It's a far smaller operation than anything that came before. Intimate, focused, without the scale of the original oceanarium. For some, it's a meaningful continuation. For others, it feels like a footnote. What was truly lost is harder to quantify. Decades of institutional knowledge. A living archive of marine research conducted over nearly 70 years at a single location. The kind of longitudinal data that can't be replicated, because you can't go back in time to start collecting it. The relationship between the local community and the coastline that Marineland had anchored for generations. There's also something more abstract. Marineland represented a particular era's relationship with the natural world, one that mixed genuine scientific curiosity with public spectacle for better and for worse. Our understanding of marine animals has evolved enormously since 1938. We know now that many of the practices common in early marine parks were harmful, but we also know that Marineland genuinely advanced public awareness of the ocean at a time when very little of that existed. The story of Marineland is, at its core, the story of what happens to pioneering institutions in a world that moves fast. They get surpassed, and then if no one is paying attention, they get forgotten entirely. History has a way of erasing the things that came first. The inventors, the originals, the places that built the foundation everyone else built on. Marineland of Florida is one of those places, and it deserved better than the quiet ending it got. If you found this story as remarkable as I do, if you think these kinds of forgotten histories deserve to be remembered, the best thing you can do is subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week this channel goes looking for the stories that slipped through the cracks. Some of them are bigger than you'd expect. I'll see you in the next one.